Hello and welcome to the Franchise Tag Preview Show. I'm joined by Adam, as usual, to go through all the games for Week 11. We've already got one game in the books. We like to start off with a quick, brief chat about that. So, Adam, we had New England versus Atlanta. What were your thoughts?
I thought Atlanta were awful, and New England were New England. So, and that was about it, really. Mac Jones looks all right. He did throw in one interception, but he looked pretty good and pretty solid, and the game plan's working. And I think it's going to take a good team to stop them by the look of it. So, I don't know. Maybe when they play the Bills, that might be where it all goes a bit wrong. But
down to that game.
Yeah.
I think, before the season even started, we all said on the franchise tag that the Patriots getting all those defenders back, or the opt-outs back and stuff, they were going to be a stronger team. And it's just taken them a few weeks to gel. And they're looking pretty good now. So we've seen this from the Pats before. They've had shaky starts and then, they just start rolling into the playoffs. So this could be another one of those things. So, the Bills game will be interesting.
Yeah, I think it's just a bit of a surprise as to how quickly Mac Jones has settled in. I think that's the thing that's shocked most people. I mean, I've said loads of times, we've said it, he was always considered the one who was ready for the NFL more than any of the others. But even still, it takes time, and it seemed to take basically about 4 or 5 games, and now he seems to be up to speed with it, and certainly with what Belichick wants to do anyway. So seems to be working.
Well, we all know that Bill Belichick's big friends with Nick Saban, and obviously Matt Jones was at Alabama, so I'm sure he had a phone call with him and just went, "Look, is this guy right for my team?" And he just went, "Yes." So there was always going to be a process there. So we'll move on and we'll talk about what's coming up today. As always, we go by my list. It might be different to everybody else's, but that's part of the fun for Adam, me surprising him with what's going to come out first. And the first one on my list, I think, is an interesting game. It's the Colts at Buffalo.
Yeah, I mean, you've managed to pick the one game where I don't really have any strong opinion on, so well done. I genuinely think it could be a coin flip. It really could. The Colts have got a really good defense. The Bills have got a really good defense. The Colts offense is doing okay with Jonathan Taylor. The Bills offense has struggled a little bit in recent weeks, but it kind of came back a little bit last week. To be honest, there's no bet for it at all. I just feel like it's one of them games it's going to be a really interesting game to watch, and I think I'll go for the Bills just because they're at home. I think maybe that might help them out. But to be honest, I don't really have any strong opinion on it because I think it's it depends which defense turns up the most, I think. And that's going to be really difficult to guess, to be honest.
Yeah, I think the Colts are carrying a few injuries in the secondary. And I think Buckner's also questionable. So, there's a couple of names there for the Colts that might be missing, might not be. But having said that, I fully agree with you on this one. I think it is a bit of a coin flip. I think the Bills on paper should win this. And if it was at the start of the season, we would be saying Bills. But that Colts team has looked good over the last 4 or 5 weeks. So, I mean, I want to. This is a big game for both of these teams. Colts need to win it to stay in the hunt, and the Bills need to win this to cement their place at the top with Patriots right on their tail. So this is a big, big game for both of them. Just because I like to be a little bit different, I'm going to call the Colts to win this one.
Not because your dad's a Colts fan, no?
Well, I'm not a Colts fan. It doesn't affect me. I don't live with them, so I don't have to share a house with them. So,
okay.
I've got none of that drama. But yeah, I like the Colts. I'd like to see them in the playoffs. I'd like to see what they could do. So it's more hope that they try and get that far. So it's probably a bit more of that. I'll be supporting them in this game. So I'd like to see them win. My next game up is the Baltimore Ravens at Chicago Bears.
It's a difficult one, isn't it? This one. I mean, Khalil Mack's gone for the Bears. They've struggled on offense, so you can't really see them doing that much. I mean, we don't know if Lamar Jackson's going to play or not. Apparently, he's 50-50. He's ill, but we don't know if he's going to play, and that's probably the difference because I'm not sure who their is it. Who's their number two?
Oh, it used to be Shorey, didn't it? But
yeah. So I can't remember who their number two is, but whoever it is, obviously it's going to reduce the offense quite a lot without Lamar Jackson. I think the Ravens are a better team, whatever. But I don't know if they're going to be able to overcome Lamar Jackson being there. I'm going to go for the Ravens purely because I think Jackson will play, or at least he'll give it a go. And losing Khalil Mack is massive for the Bears. It really is. And they're struggling anyway. So to lose a player like that's even worse. So, yeah, I think the Ravens is probably the one to go for.
Yeah, I've just had a quick look at the depth chart. They've still got Trace McSorley, who I thought was their backup, but they've also brought in Tyler Huntley as well, someone you're probably familiar with. So,
who? Brett Hundley?
No, Tyler Huntley.
Oh, okay. No, don't think he played for the Packers.
No, that was Brett. So I would have thought Trace McSorley would play because I've seen him play for them before. So I would have thought that would be the obvious one. Again, I'm with you. It depends on his fitness whether Lamar Jackson plays or not. But they're a team that's built to abuse the run game. We all know that. And I think all of their running backs are currently now fit. I think Devonta Freeman, Latavius Murray's back, I believe. Tyson Williams will play, I think. So, you know, even if he is struggling or they do bring in a backup quarterback, they're still going to be predominantly run game, which they're fit enough to do that. And the defense of the Ravens, if it gets any pressure, as we've seen, onto Justin Fields in the previous weeks, it just seems like he's getting sacked far too much. They can't support him, and if you can't support him, what can he do as a rookie? You know, he's not a veteran that can sort of escape and knows what he's doing. It's a bit harsh for him, but I'm gonna go with the Ravens as well, even if they are a little bit banged up. I think they're too strong. And the defense is good at the Ravens, so they'll put the pressure on. So next game, bit of a fun one. It's Detroit Lions at the Cleveland Browns.
I think this could be an absolute decimation from the Browns. They're not going to be happy after last week, are they? Let's face it. And they've got Nick Chubb back, and I'm not sure. I think the Lions are a ranked 30th or 29th against the run, going up against a team who likes to run the ball and has got one of the best running backs in the league coming back. So I think the Browns will win this. I would say go for Chubb anytime touchdown, but he's 4-7. He's quite short. So, you could put it in an accumulator if you wanted to, but even then he's a bit short. But yeah, I think the Browns will take this pretty easily. And, they're meant to have a really good defense. And I think they had their pride kind of, I've got them in fantasy. And I think their pride got knocked quite a lot against the Patriots. I mean, to give up that many points is a big statement against the Browns, I think, with that so-called good defense. And I think they're going to be out to make a statement, and Baker's playing, so that's a positive for them. So I think they'll win it quite easy.
Yeah, I think just to add to upset for the Lions, I think Jared Goff is doubtful to play today as well.
Yes, he's out. So it's going to be Tim Boyle.
Tim Boyle's going to be in there as well. That's just going to add to the drama that they've had to go through. So trying to find connection and be NFL ready is a big thing. So I can't see the Browns not, like you say, absolutely rolling them.
But Tim Boyle's never started as well. I mean, the only real contribution he's made in the NFL is tackling Aaron Rodgers in practice. So it should be interesting.
as a full-on like body slam as well, wasn't it? I think that's some memes that came out about it. But the Browns need to cement this as a big game. You know, we saw the Steelers struggle against them, so they've got to push forward and show that they are still a contender. So I'm going with the Browns. I agree with you. I think they're just going to run all over them. Our fingers crossed Nick Chubb has an absolute field day. Next up is the Houston Texans versus the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's pretty much exactly what we've just said, but it's for the Titans instead of the Browns. I mean, I know they weren't embarrassed, but the Texans are really poor against the run again, and I mean the Texans are pretty poor against anything, to be honest. But I think the Titans at home, really, really good team. They're looking very strong, even without Derrick Henry. So I think they'll probably come through it pretty unscathed. The one thing I did look at, the Texans are really poor against the tight end. It's something that they seem to have struggled with all season. Jeff Swain is out with a concussion. So you got Micole Pruitt, who came in and looked decent. I mean, he's 4-1 anytime touchdown, so that's not a bad bet. But also you got Anthony Ferguson at 6-1 anytime touchdown. So, you know, it's a bit of a punt on either of them, to be honest. But they both have the potential to possibly do something in this game. But yeah, I think the Titans are winning quite easily.
Yeah, I think the guys that they've brought in to back up now, Derrick Henry's out, and Foreman and Peterson have slotted in quite nice. I think they both showcased last week that they can work together as a committee back and get the job done, leaving Tannehill to kind of do his business with his wide receivers. So it hasn't affected them as much as what I thought it would. I thought losing Henry we'd see a big decline in them actually getting the ball down the field. But yeah, it hasn't seemed to have bothered them overly too much. So yeah, that Texans team just isn't good enough. Even with the players they've got back, I just don't think they're strong enough to. And I think Mike Vrabel is in for the shout for Coach of the Year. So if he keeps it going, then I think they'll do well. So it's a Tennessee win, easy for me there. Don't think there's much else to discuss with that one. Then the big game is next up on mine. Big game of the Green Bay Packers at the Minnesota Vikings.
So I had a look at this and I was a little surprised at how big the Packers are. You know, like price wise, they're 5-6 to win, which is probably the biggest they've been, apart from when they've played the Cardinals and the 49ers when they played them away. So it's probably the biggest price they've been, and they're only -1 on the spread as well, which I understand they're away. And obviously they've lost Aaron Jones, and I believe Alan Lazard's out as well for this game. But you've still got Aaron Rodgers there. AJ Dillon has shown that he is a good running back against another team who are very poor against the run. So I'm a little surprised. Devontae Adams is going to be out there as well. So I'm a little surprised that it's as short as it is. So, you know, I mean, if you wanted the Packers in an accumulator of 5-6 is not bad. And I put a betting video out this morning for today's games. You know, AJ Dillon as part of 3 running backs at 5-6 anytime is a good price as well. I think the Packers are just stronger. You know, I mean, and I'm biased, obviously, but I do feel like if you take it from an unbiased point of view, I just think they're a stronger organization, and the defense has really shown how much stronger they are. And the Vikings, Dalvin Cook's there, but he hasn't really. It's like he's getting the rushing yards, but not the touchdowns. And that, as I said in the main show earlier this week, they're very mediocre, the Vikings. So you would expect a Packers win here.
Yeah, I think if they're playing anyone else, you're saying, yeah, easy Packers win. Fully agree with all the points you've made. I think, you know, they are better on paper. They're the better performing team. They're one of the best performing teams in the NFL right now, whereas the Vikings are still fighting to get to 500. They're 4-5. They look good in some games and they don't in others, which that's the difference between the two. The only thing I've got with this game is the fact of how big of a divisional rivalry it is. It's very similar every year when I talk about when the Giants play any of the guys, Washington, Philly, or Cowboys. It doesn't matter how good. If we go up against the Cowboys, it doesn't matter how good they're playing or whether they're Super Bowl team and we're bottom. The rivalry there, everybody steps up another level and anyone can win it on that day, despite how poor or well they're playing all season. So I don't know whether there's an element of factor in there with that going up against the Vikings. And that's why it might be a bit more of a coin flip than expected. But having said that, like I said, the Packers for me have been absolutely fantastic all year. And yeah, they look like the real deal. So for me, I can't go against the Packers for that reason.
I have to say, when it comes to like at the beginning of the season, when you look at the division or the games that you're playing, and especially the sort of like the divisional games, it is always the Vikings away is the one that you sort of, at the moment anyway, it's the Vikings away that you sort of think, yeah, that's the one that they could potentially slip up on. So I can understand why that might be why they've changed it a bit and maybe made it more of an even contest in that respect. But yeah, I mean, like you said, I personally, I just think I'd be surprised if the Vikings came out and managed to win this one.
They've got the players there. They've got some very talented offensive players. So, there is a chance. But we move on to another very interesting game. Probably not one everyone's going to have on their tally, but it's probably an interesting one for us to talk about. It's the Miami Dolphins versus the New York Jets.
Yeah, it's it could be a bit of a snooze fest, this one, I think. The under. They're offering 44.5 points under. I just can't see many points in this game, to be honest. Hopefully Myles Gaskin has a good game. He had a bad one last week, so hopefully he has a good one this week. But yeah, I mean, I think neither team are much against the run. The Dolphins defense stepped up last week, and that is pretty much the only reason why I can pick the Dolphins over the Jets. If they had carried on being as poor as they were, then it would have been a really tough one. But yeah, I think the Dolphins defense stepped up. The offense still isn't great. Joe Flacco's in for the Jets, so that will be interesting to see what happens there. I don't know. I just don't see a lot happening in this game, and I think that the Dolphins defense will just do enough.
Yeah, it's a tough one to call. The fact, I think if Miami didn't do what they did last week, I'd be sat here saying Jets.
Possibly, yeah.
So I don't know whether, am I just getting on board with the fact they had one good game and all of a sudden we're going to see the Miami Dolphins of old? Because the Jets haven't looked terrible since Mike White came in. They've managed to put points up on the board and they've looked quite good at times. Joe Flacco's coming in, but he's a veteran. He knows what to do. So am I getting a bit hyped on the fact that the Dolphins did well in one game? I don't know. I'd like to say the Dolphins based on that because on paper they are the better team, but I've got a sneaky feeling that the Jets could beat them in this one. But I'm not going to steer away from the Dolphins.
I think the one interesting thing with this game is that, to be honest, it feels like this is the first game where both teams are kind of out of it already. This is the first time that it's come up, and it's week 11, so you could argue it's come up quite early. But this is the first one, and so because of that, you sort of want, maybe pride might take over a little bit, and there might be a bit of that and wanting to win, so they might be a bit more aggressive. But I don't know. It's a real sort of. I can't imagine many people are going to be watching this one, to be honest.
Yeah, the Dolphins. I agree with you. I think the Dolphins have got more to lose with the record. I mean, I think Jets before the season started kind of thought, we've got a lot of rookies. We're not going to do much out of it. So, if we don't finish great, we'll have another great draft pick. But I think there's an expectation with the Dolphins to have done better. So I think if they finish with a better record, they'd be happier. So, yeah, I think they've got a little bit more to play for pride for that one. So, yeah, I'm both on Dolphins for that. Next up is the New Orleans Saints at the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, it's a tough one, this one, because obviously I don't really know what to make of the Saints at the moment. It's, obviously when you look at their offense and, obviously Drew Brees went last year, Jameis Winston's injured, for this year. So they got Trevor Siemian out there, and it's not great. And you got Taysom Hill just sort of like just standing on the sidelines, like waiting to come on. And I don't know, it's a bit of a weird one. And obviously Kamara's out again, so that doesn't help. And the wide receivers are okay. They sort of like they have like good halves almost. Like so like Traquan Smith will just rattle off a half and do really well, and then completely disappear for the rest of the game, or the other way around. It's so strange. Yeah, I don't know with the Saints. They've got a very good defense, and that's what's keeping them in games. But the Eagles have looked better than what I think everyone thought they were going to be. They are very run heavy though, and the Saints are like the best team in the league against the run, so that's going to be a really difficult matchup there. Miles Sanders is back, so that might help a little bit, but I think it's going to be a very physical game between the Saints defensive line and the Eagles offensive line. I do quite like Devonta Smith for this, I must say. I think because the run game is going to get taken away a bit, Hurts is going to have to throw it a bit more. So 2-1 for Devonta Smith isn't a bad price anytime. I think he's shown when he gets the volume that he can do something with it. So I think he'll be good. But yeah, I'm going to go for the Eagles. I think it'll be a really tight game, but I think the Eagles at home with that crowd, I think that'll help them.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head when you talk about some of the Saints team. They seem to be a team of just like number twos. It's a quarterback two, it's an RB2. There's a lot of wide receiver twos. They haven't really got that standout star on the offense, or due to Kamara being out. But they haven't really got. When you're talking about the teams that are pushing for wildcard places in the playoffs, they've got 2 or 3 pieces that would fit into anybody's team in the NFL. Whereas, like you say, I think there's just a lot of good guys in this team. And I'm not sure that's enough to push to the next level. It's just their defense that is where all the stars are. That's where they win games. It has been done before. My Giants have done it before. We had an average offense and our defense carried us to a Super Bowl. So it is possible to do it that way round. But it is the tough way. And as you said, the Eagles, they have been a lot more impressive, but they're still not consistent for me. Every week you see them, they look good, they're putting points on the board. You're going, wow, yeah, this team does look good. And then the next week, they just don't really do anything. A lot of the players go missing. I don't know whether it's because they've got so many youngsters. And, they can't keep the consistency every week. It is a tough game, this one. I'm not really sure what to go for. I'm going to go with the Saints because I think on the whole, they have been a bit more consistent. I think there's a bit more about them. Like I said, that defense is strong enough to carry a team. And the offense isn't horrendous. Like I say, it's just a lot of good guys. Am I just being a bit biased towards them because they're up against the Eagles? I don't know. I've said enough nice things about the Eagles all year to give myself a pat on the back. So, I'm going to go with the Saints for this one. I just think they're a slightly better franchise at the moment. So, it's the Saints for me in that one. Next up is another divisional rivalry for me. It's the Washington football team going up against the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, I think this is Cam's homecoming, isn't it, this one? So, I think, as I've said all the time when it comes to the Panthers now, with Cam there, if you can keep Cam fit, if you can keep McCaffrey fit, they'll win games, and they've got a very good young defense. So I think because of all of that, they're going to be too strong for Washington. It'll be interesting if they can keep them fit or not. I mean, like McCaffrey came out again halfway through the game last week, so that's that is a potential issue. But they're both playing, and Cam's going to start. So I think it'd be it'd be good to watch. I think it'd be interesting to see what happens. Washington, of course, have lost Chase Young, which is huge. So I think that's going to be really difficult for them now. So yeah, I think Panthers will win it. I wouldn't say easy. I don't think they'll necessarily win as easily as they did last week, but I think that they will probably take it relatively easily.
Yeah, such a shame about Chase Young as well. I don't know whether you've seen it or heard it,
No.
but you should watch the highlights so that you can hear the scream.
No.
But yeah, that Panthers team now, I said it last week when we didn't know whether they were going to use Cam Newton or not. He adds a level of excitement to this team, and he adds I think just him being on the field and his personality just raises them up, the whole team up another level. I think with Sam Darnold, he's very, he's a bit of an Iceman. He's not, you don't see him screaming and running around and geeing everybody up like you do with Cam Newton. I think that adds value when you're talking about a quarterback in the huddle as well, and just driving teams to push to that next level. And I think he brings that to the team. And as you've said, they've got all their pieces back. I think we've seen enough from Chuba Hubbard this year that Christian McCaffrey doesn't need to be in there every snap like he has been in previous years. So there is that option now to rest him and not use him as much, which I think would be great for them. And I just think that I'm excited about the Panthers for the first time now. And that Washington team was relying heavily on its defense, and it's not produced, and now it's lost another piece. I just don't see where they can match up against this Panthers team. We saw it started off strong, it had a dip in the middle. I think they're going to now continue on. So yeah, I think the Panthers have got this one quite comfortably. So we'll move on to the last of the early games, and that is the 49ers at Jacksonville.
Yeah, I think this is a relatively easy one for the 49ers. I personally think they're going to start flying now myself. They saw they had the game plan, didn't they, against the Rams? I think they know what to do. The Jags are just, although they've got an okay defense, I just don't think the Jags are going to be strong enough to stop them. And offensively, the Jags have struggled. Trevor Lawrence has struggled this year. It's not been as smooth sailing as what I think a lot of people thought or hoped that it would be for him. I think Jeff Wilson is a big plus coming back. I think he showed last year that he can do the job, and so I think he'll be good. Deebo Samuel is just ridiculous at the moment. It's insane. He's just, wherever they throw the ball, he's there, and also in the run game as well. He's shown that he's decent, and even Brandon Ayuk managed to get a couple of receptions last week. So yeah, I think the 49ers, they know their game plan, and the Jags are not going to be strong enough to stop them in this one.
Yeah, I think we saw enough last week from the 49ers to say that they are back. They do look well. They're another team that have managed to get healthy now. They've been missing pieces all year, and they've finally got to a point where a good 80 to 90% of their first team players are back. Their big time players are back. And I think that really helps going up against a Jags team that has struggled all year. And San Francisco, again, there's a bit of pride as well with them. They're going to want to try and finish with the best record possible. There's not really anything in it for the Jags. So for me, the 49ers, I think they take this one quite comfortably. Yeah. Equally, you mentioned Trevor Lawrence has struggled, but there's a lot of similarities to his season that we saw in Peyton Manning's first season. I think he threw something like 30 interceptions or something like that.
I actually don't think it's all down to him. it's the pieces around him as well. So it's not like he's a complete bust or anything like that. But he's struggled probably because of the team that he's on. Really.
Yeah. So I think there's room to grow with him, but this is not the year to do that. So the first game of the late games is an interesting one as well. It's the Bengals versus the Raiders.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a shame that it is a late game because it's one of the better ones. And unfortunately, obviously, we've got another late game that's probably a little bit more exciting coming up later. But yeah, the Bengals Raiders. I think it could be a high scoring game. This one, there's the Raiders. The Raiders just look like they are really struggling with everything that's gone on there, and it kind of feels a little bit like, at first I was very much like, this has happened and they've overcome it, and then this has happened and they've overcome it, and it just kind of feels like too many things have happened now and they can't overcome it so much, and it just looks like they're starting to struggle a little bit now, which is a shame because they started off so well, which is a common thing really with the Raiders. The Bengals are another team who started off really well and have kind of struggled a little bit, but I feel that the bye week that they had last week is going to be huge for them. It's given them a bit of extra time. Really like Joe Mixon in this game. I think Mixon any time at 11 to 10 is a good one to go for. I like Chase in this game. Yeah, I think the Bengals for this one, and I think it'll be high scoring as well.
Yeah, I thought I didn't think you'd go for it being high scoring, as I think the Bengals are one of the teams that have managed to have the lowest points against them in the league.
Yeah, I just feel that the Raiders, I think with Darren Waller there, and also I think we saw with Edwards as well, that they do have that ability to go over the top if they want to. I think maybe a little bit more trust might be put into Edwards now, and although the Bengals have been good, it kind of felt like the defense was struggling a little bit before the bye. So I think because of that, I can see the Raiders putting up not a lot of points. I think I mean the over under is 50.5, so it's not a massive over. But I can see 50-51 coming from this game because I could see the Bengals hitting like 30-35, not easily, but reasonably okay. So the Raiders would only have to put up like 16, which I mean they put 14 up against the Chiefs. I mean I think they could do that again. So yeah,
I think for me I think the Bengals. It's one. I don't know whether it's the franchise tag's been rooting for them as a collective, but we seem to every week say we'd like to see the Bengals do well. We'd like the pieces, the players they've got, and I've got a bit of a soft spot for them with having Joe Burrow at quarterback. So I'd like to. For me, it's a very close game still. I don't think it's as much of a washout as maybe we think, but yeah, I'm going to go for the Bengals. The only other side I'd say for the Raiders is the Bengals are the 28th defense against the run, and Josh Jacobs is fully healthy now, so you could see him getting the ball a lot. I don't know. Josh Jacobs for me didn't do enough last week when I thought he'd do well, so I'm not sure they can pin all their hopes on that. But that's a plus side for them. But yeah, I think the Bengals will get it done in this game. I want to see them do well. So yeah, I think it'll be close though. We'll move on to the next one, which is probably the game I think it's the game you were on about. It's the Cowboys versus the Chiefs.
Well, if it had been the Cardinals Seahawks, I would have been shocked. Yes, the Cowboys Chiefs. I think you're gonna see a lot of points in this game, even without Amari Cooper. I think there's going to be plenty of points. Obviously, with Cooper out, Michael Gallup's going to see more. CeeDee Lamb obviously is going to see a lot as well. So, either of them two would be worth keeping an eye on when it comes to the prices. I think what we saw last week with the Chiefs, you kind of feel like now this has to be the blueprint now. They have to come back to it because this is what they did in order to get to them Super Bowls. And it's the short 10, 15-yard passes to Kelsey in the middle. and not constantly going over the top trying to do these 30-40 yard passes, where even last week when Mahomes tried to go long, more often than not he missed it. And if he can keep to these sort of short passes or these lateral passes out to the running back as well, because that really helped. Williams was good in the passing game last week. That will make a massive difference. I think over 6.5 receptions for Kelsey is a good bet. I think that will probably happen because he has shown that has worked. And I think what you're going to find is you're going to have a interesting matchup with Kelsey and probably Micah Parsons in the middle. And I think that will say a lot. And I just feel that Kelsey has kind of he's got that nous about him. He's got that experience where he's probably going to be able to find the gaps compared to what Parsons is. So I'm going to go for the Chiefs, but I think it's going to be a very high scoring game. But if the Chiefs can keep to that pattern like they did last week, I think that'll be enough for them to win it.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's the one that everybody's been talking about. It's been all over social media with, voting who's going to have the best game, Dak or Mahomes. There's lots to talk about in this one. With the Chiefs finally coming back and looking like what we've seen with the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Like you said, Amari Cooper out. It's just up steps next person, Gallup. As you said with CD Lamb, I think there's already been the conversation out there of who is the best wide receiver in their second year, and people are saying that CD Lamb is performing better than Justin Jefferson. And there's arguments with that. I think they've had very similar seasons, but I think CD Lamb's got a few more touchdowns. So they're both explosive offenses. They've both got the talent. But the Dallas defense has been a lot better than the Chiefs defense.
Yeah. I mean, I was kind of banging the drum for Dan Quinn at the beginning of the season about how it's going to improve it so much. I think the defense will do well. I just feel that sort of like the connections that Mahomes has with Kelsey, like it's very much if they do what they did last week. If they can replicate that, then they'll win it. That's what it is, and it'll be a high-scoring game. But yeah, I just feel like that Dallas defense, it's been great, but to go away to Kansas City, have that, whether they'll be able to do exactly what they've done all season, I don't know. I just think that Andy Reid and Mahomes now playing the way that he did last week, if he's doing that again, I think that'll be too much for the Cowboys to maybe keep up with.
Yeah, I think it's a big test for both the teams. A test for Dallas to see if they are good enough to fight it out with the big boys. They've now started to get into the chat of are they good enough to go all the way. So this will be a good test for them. And for the Chiefs, obviously, it's a game of can they knock off a team that's in that conversation and prove that if they do make it to the playoffs, they're still a force to be reckoned with. I'm really split with this game. I want to say Chiefs because it's against Dallas, but Dallas's defense is, it is. I think it's down to the defense in this game because I think, like you said, it's going to be high scoring. Both offenses are going to be explosive. I just think Dallas has got the players to create the turnovers.
I think you can make an argument for either. I really do. It's a very close game, and I would not be at all shocked if the Cowboys won it at all. But like I said, I just feel that if they do what they did last week, then they'll get enough.
Right, I was on the fence. You've pulled me towards you. I'm going with the Yep. I don't know if is that an upset or not,
No, I wouldn't have thought so.
Okay, next game up is the Arizona Cardinals at the Seattle Seahawks.
I mean, the Seahawks are kind of in desperation mode now, really. If they want to get to the playoffs, they've got to win this game. It's getting too much now. and they really struggled against the Packers defense last week, and I think they'll probably struggle against the Cardinals defense this week a little bit. I know Russell Wilson's back for another week, so that'll help, but Chris Carson isn't coming back now. Alex Collins, I don't know if he's playing this one. I think he might be out. I'm not sure. So yeah, it's a difficult one. It's very much Lockett and Metcalf, and of course the problem is that they're just getting marked all the time, and it's really tough for them. The Cardinals, I don't. Is Murray back? I know Hopkins is out, but no one seems to know if Murray's back or not.
Everything's been leaning all week towards him being back. I don't know whether it's been confirmed. I'll have a little look while you continue to talk.
So I'm not sure if he's back or not. I do like James Conner in this one. I know you'll be a happy bunny for me saying that. So I think Conner has shown he's looked good. He is odds on though, so it's not a great bet, but it's definitely one that has potential. I think the Seahawks have struggled against the run. So yeah, I think Conner will be good. I also think that maybe for the Seahawks, I can see Gerald Everett getting quite a lot of passes and some receptions from that, because I think that Metcalf and Lockett is just going to be marked out of it quite a lot. But yeah, I'm going to go for the Cardinals if Murray's back, and if is he not?
Apparently, according to form, they're not going to bring him back till after the bye week.
Right. Okay. So that So probably not Cardinals.
have to be the James Conner show again, like it was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. I mean, they seem to be really struggling. I mean, any team would struggle without Murray and Hopkins, obviously, but they do seem to be struggling without. So yeah, it'll be an interesting one. I'll go for the Seahawks then if Murray and Hopkins aren't there.
Yeah, I was going to agree with this. I think even if with Murray back, I think for me this week there's something about the Seahawks that I quite like them being a little bit more like themselves. They've had a week now with Russell Wilson back that we always knew wasn't going to be good first week. So I just think there's something about them this week that I can't quite write off. I think they've had a bit of a tough ride of it. They played a lot of tough teams at the start. Whereas Arizona, for me, although they've been really impressive, I think they're slightly overrated in what they've accomplished. With all those injuries, like I say, it has to be the James Conner show again. And I know the Seahawks like 31st against the run or something. So, he might have a field day, but I've got a sneaky feeling, again, divisional rivalry. They need to step up. They need to win all their remaining games. They still can qualify for the playoffs. So, yeah, I think there's just more in it for the Seahawks. Now they've got Russell Wilson back, and it's at Seattle. So I think that plays a massive factor into it. So yeah, I'm going to go with the Seahawks as well for this one. And then the late game for us. Don't know if Freddie will be staying up for it, but that will be the Steelers at the Chargers. Very interesting game.
Yeah, it is. It's a really interesting one. Initially, I just went Chargers. Like just instinctively, I kind of just went Chargers. But when you actually look at it, they are the worst team against the run. Najee Harris is going to have a field day with this team. And the other thing is that Bosa is out, isn't he, for the Chargers as well. So that is just going to even give Najee Harris even more fun on tonight's game. I think Big Ben's back. I'm pretty sure he's back. I think that's a positive because Mason Rudolph looked awful for most of that game. I don't know what they're doing with Mason Rudolph, like this obsession with keeping him.
Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's going to be much better, but Mason Rudolph, no. So yeah, Najee Harris, he's 5 to 6 anytime. Put him in your accumulators or whatever. I'd be very surprised if he didn't get a touchdown in this game. I think with Big Ben back, Najee Harris is back, Chase Claypool's back as well. I think the Chargers are just, I don't know what's going on there at the moment. It's just not clicking on the offense. It's just not happening, and on the defense as well. They're not doing great. There was a lot of hope with Brandon Staley coming in, thinking he was going to be this good young coach that was going to make a really big difference, and he probably just needs time. But it's not happened, and there's still this sort of, we'll win 2 or 3 games and then we'll lose 2 or 3 games, and it's a bit of a weird one at the moment. I think I'm going to go for the Steelers just because of the players that are back. I think that will help them enough, and Big Ben back will help Deontay Johnson, of course, and I think I can just see Harris running all over the Chargers.
Yeah, I agree. They're only one game back off of the Ravens as well. They know the Browns and the Bengals, who we both said are going to be coming out and gunning for wins and might have comfortable wins this week. So they need to stay in that race. So I think there's a lot in it for them. And yeah, they've got all their key players back. I think Big Ben is a big option for them. Frymouth showed that he can be part of the offense now. He's looked really impressive. It's just another option in that middle, just to dump the ball off if those downfield threats aren't available, which I think is real big for Steelers, because it's something they've struggled with. And as you say, Najee Harris has been insane. The Chargers, they've. I think I said before the season started, I've said it for the last 3 years, because Freddie really likes the Chargers. He's got a bit of a soft spot for them. They've got a few players in there, and every year he's like, on paper, he's like, yep, they're going to be good. They're going to be good enough. You always got like a bit of a feeling that, like you have with the Raiders, that they'll find a way to mess it up.
Yeah.
And it seems to happen every single year, and it seems to be happening again. They look good. They've got the players. The defense has been as healthy as it's been as in the previous years, but they don't seem to get it done every week. And I think the Steelers know, they've been around long enough to know how to get it done. I think the Chargers are still working on how to find that. So for me, I'm going to stick with the Steelers. I quite like them. They're still in the hunt. They're still in the race. So there's a lot for them to play for, which we didn't think after the way they started there would be. So, I'm going to go with the Steelers as well. So we move on to the Monday night game. Is it going to be an interesting one? Who knows? I'll be staying up for it. It'll be another late night for me. Giants at the Buccaneers.
Yeah, I'm going to go for the Bucs, partly because I know it'll annoy you, partly because I just think they're a better team. The Giants have been decimated by injuries, haven't they? They're all season. It's been a nightmare. Who's back?
Everyone.
Really? Right. Okay.
Apparently Galladay's back. Apparently Sterling Shepard's back. Evan Ingram's fit. Saquon. I think they said Saquon's going to play. That's a little.
Okay. So I'm still going to go for the Bucs. I think, unfortunately for the Giants, it's kind of ruined their season, to be honest, all these injuries. And it's starting to reach a point where it's like, what is there to play for a little bit? I think what the Giants have to look at now, the players, they kind of almost have to think of trying to, let's get a few results at the end of this season so that we can then kick on next season. But I just don't know how many of them are going to be there next year. That's the problem. So it's a really difficult one at the moment for the Giants, I think. And I know that the Bucs haven't been as good as what they were last year, but they didn't really kick on until towards the end of the regular season last year. And I think that Brady, although he's not had a great record in New York, I think he'll probably do enough in this one.
Yeah, well, we did say that 8 wins might be enough to secure a playoff spot from that side, from the NFC, and that is still possible for the Giants.
What are they on at the moment?
They've got 3 wins.
3 wins. Okay, yeah. I mean, that's you.
We've got the Eagles, the Dolphins, Chargers, Cowboys, Eagles, Bears, Washington. You know, they're all, if we're fit, they're all winnable. So this could be the start. This could be the start of the roll. Who am I kidding? Yeah, I mean, the Buccaneers are they're up there with the discussion still of going to the Super Bowl. They will be. They're great on both sides of the ball. They are an impressive franchise at the moment, and we are on our day. We're good, but it's just not. You know, I've stopped up so many nights already this year to watch them, and I think I've lost more hair this year than ever, than losing games on last kicks and things like that, which has been very disheartening. But I want to say that we can play in this game. Like I say, we've got a lot of our pieces back, but it is the first week they're all back together, and that doesn't always tend to mean that, you know, everybody's firing on all cylinders. They need to try and get proper NFL match fit, not just practice field fit. And the Buccaneers is just not the game to go up against and try and get match fit against them. So, yeah, I think the Buccaneers will win this one, but I think we'll see an improvement from the Giants this week, and hopefully we can continue that to the end of the season, maybe finish with a slightly better record with a bit more hope for next year like we did.
It sounds like you've got some winnable games. You know, if you can keep everyone fit, it sounds like you've got some winnable games, but I think it's probably going to be a little bit too little, too late.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we needed some of those wins at the start of the season against the Falcons and Washington that we lost on the last kick. If we'd have got them, it might be all to play for still. But yeah, I think it's just a case of looking impressive in the games we've got left to give the fans some hope for next year that this team just needs a couple of pieces to maybe compete with the Cowboys next year. So yeah, but Buccaneers are too strong in this one, I think. So yeah. That concludes all of the games for week 11. We've gone on a little bit longer than usual, but, you know, obviously lots to talk about this week, getting to the nitty-gritty. Any big bets for us, Adam? I know you spoke a lot about the odds there.
Yeah, I mean, the video I put out this morning, it's Joe Mixon, AJ Dillon and Najee Harris. It works out at 6-1 for the three. Mixon's against the 27th ranked rushing defense. Dillon's the 28th, and Najee Harris, as we said, against the worst. So, you know, they've all got good chances. There are some others, but they are quite short, like odds on one. Like we said about James Conner, I think that's, you know, he's got a very good chance of being the main guy for the Cardinals with Murray out. And obviously the Titans tight ends, possibly, you know, there's something in them, 4-1 and 6-1 for Pruitt and Fursker, respectively. But yeah, I think the one that's out is on the you know, it's on our Twitter page. So check that out. And yeah, I think that's probably the one to go for.
Just found out that Marquise Brown is out.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the Bears still suck, don't they? So, you know.
Yeah, I'd say get your money on Rashad Bateman. I think he's he's been looking quite interesting. He could be the one. I think other than that, I'm just having a little quick flick through, see if there is any injuries that we've missed. I think that's the only notable one. Yeah, we already know about Alvin Kamara. Yeah, that's a shame. Marquise Brown's out. But yeah, so the fantasy show's out. I don't know if you guys watched that. It was out on Thursday. So if you go and watch that, the main show was out. We are changing. Are we going live next week, Adam? Are we?
We are. I think it's you and me. So
yeah, we're minus Freddie's kind of abandon us and let us do what we want. So that could be a great show to watch. But yeah, follow us on social media. If you've got any questions, if you've got any fancy questions after we've spoke about some of the injuries, just drop us a message. We're happy to reply. Best of luck to all your teams this week. Hope they get the victory. Till then, goodbye.